Okay? My apologies for any unnecessary noise. So, I will be recording the discussion for today. You may use any materials that is available. Okay? So, you can search online for any reading materials such as reviewers or PDF. Okay? PDF materials. So, the law on agency. And before going further, inform ko lang po kayo na ang subject nyo sa akin is sales, agency, and credit transactions. The three subjects or the three laws are combined in one subject. So, we will try to discuss everything. Okay? But, since we are only given one semester to discuss, I'll try my best to give you the most substantial topic in every law. Okay? So, I'll just proceed first with the law on agency kasi it's the easiest topic among the three. And ang pinakamahaba po is yung law on sales. Okay? Yung credit transactions is also easier compared to law on sales. So, let's start with the easiest law. That is the law on agency. The law on agency can be found on Articles 1868 to Article 1932 of your new Civil Code. So, what is the law on agency? Okay pa. Sino yun? Mag-mute po yung yung may tumitilaok na manok. Paki-mute po. Yan. Thank you. So, we go first with Article 1868. In your Article 1868, you can find there yung tumitilaok po ang manok, please. Mag-mute po kayo. Sino yan? Mary Kem, mag-mute ka. Mary Kem, please. Okay? So, in your Article 1868, you can find there the definition of what is a contract of agency. Yan, Article 1868. Okay? According to your Article 1868, by the contract of agency, a person, okay, binds himself to render some service or to do something in representation or on behalf of another, with the consent or authority of the latter. Okay? So, in your Article 1868, it provides you the concept of an agency. It provides you the definition of an agency. So, what is the concept of agency? Okay? Always remember that agency is fiduciary in nature. Okay? It is a fiduciary relationship which implies a power in an agent to contract with third person on behalf of a principal. Ang itatagalog ko to. Okay? Binibigyan ng authority, binibigyan ng kapangyarihan, ng power, okay? Ng principal. Okay? Hindi to yung principal sa eskwelahan, okay? The principal. Okay? Yung person who should be acting on his behalf. Pero since hindi niya magawa yung mga dapat niyang gawin, he will now assign another person to act for his benefit. Okay? And that is the agent. Okay? The relationship of the principal and the agent is, what is the concept? Fiduciary relationship. Okay? And upon giving the consent to act on your behalf, okay? Nyari, binigyan ko ng authority si Pedro na ibenta yung lupa ko, example, okay? Si Pedro ngayon, pwedeng makikontrata, pwedeng humanap ng mga buyers ng lupa ko. Ang tawag na doon is the power to contract with a third person or a stranger. Okay? Anong mangyayari pag meron na siyang power? Okay? Always remember, okay, that the power of the agent can either be classified as special, okay, or a general power. When we say general power, okay, this is, okay, this is broad. This is broad, okay? Ibig sabihin marami, pwedeng masyado, hindi lang limited. Okay? Hindi masyadong limited yung gagawin niya. Okay? As long as for the benefit, lagi niyong tandaan nyo na, dapat it must be for the benefit of the principal. If it will be adverse to the interest of the principal, then the power to contract is not allowed. Okay? So, other than being a general power, meron tayong tinatawag na special power. Ano tayong special power? This special power is only limited to a certain event or a certain obligation. So, hindi siya, kung ang obligasyon ni Pedro, ang agent ko, ay ang ibenta ang lupa ko na nasa Igig. Okay? Hindi pwedeng ibenta ni Pedro yung lupa ko na nandun sa Peña Blanca, Tugigaraw, okay, or Isabela. Because under the contract, ang power, special power of Pedro is only to sell the property that is located in Igig. Okay? So, there's a particular power only. There's a limited, there's a special power only. Okay. So, I will give you an instance. Okay. Si Pedro, let's just see, Petra. Petra is owner of a land situated in Tuguegarao City. She wants to construct a building on it. Gusto niyang magpatayo ng bahay, ng building doon sa lupa niya, si Petra. Ano ang mga pwedeng gawin ni Petra? Okay? Number 1, si Petra po ay pwede siyang mag-hire. Okay? I-hire niya ang kapitbahay niyang si Juan. Okay? Si Juan ay isang building contractor. Tapos si Juan, okay, being the contractor, he can construct the building with the materials and labor to be furnished by Juan himself. Okay? Si Petra bilang may-ari also ng lupa, di ba siya yung may-ari ng lupa? Pwedeng si Petra mismo, okay, ang mag-build doon ng building doon sa lupa niya. Pwede niya bang ibenta also yung lupa niya? Pwede, kasi pag mamay-ari niya yun. Pwede niya bang i-list o i-renta yung lupa niya? Pwede also. Pwede bang si Juan ang magbenta ng lupa niya? Hindi. Kasi under the given case, wala silang agency to sell the property. Okay? What is only allowed in the given situation is to construct the building. Okay? So, what is the governing law in a law and agency? The governing law, ano ibig sabihin ng governing law? Okay? Ano ang batas na nagko-cover sa law and agency? That is only your Civil Code of the Philippines. Next. So, ano yung mga characteristics ng isang agency? Okay? Always remember also this one. Before going to the characteristics, I just also want to inform you na yung word agency is sometimes used in a sense other than to denote the relationship of a principal and agent. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin nun? Okay? Ang ibig sabihin lang po nun, it may be used to denote the place at which the business is transacted. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin lang po nito, ang word, yung dinidiscuss ko ngayon na agency, ang ibig sabihin lang nun, dapat may principal at agent. Okay? Kung ano naman ang ibang gamit, kumbaga, ng salitang agency. Sa Tagalog, ahensya. Okay? Ang word na agency can also be used, okay, to denote the place of a business to whom the business is transacted. Diba? Yung mga agency, nakikita nyo yung mga sa POEA, yung mga pupunta sa ibang bansa, diba? Yung mga sa OFW, may mga agency yan. Okay? So, it can be used in the sense of place of business. So, the relationship of principal and agent is not necessarily implied. Okay? The word agency can likewise be used in the sense of instrumentality by which a thing is done. Okay? So, we now proceed with the different characteristics of a contract of agency. The first one is consensual. Kumbaga, ang characteristics ni kung tinanong ko kayo, what are the characteristics of an agency, law on or contract of agency, you enumerate to me the 6 enumerations provided. Itong 6 na to. Okay? Itong 6 na to, kikita nyo itong 6 na to. Okay? Kung sa isang tao, ito yung description sa inyo. Example, si Pedro. Si Pedro ay chinito. Si Pedro ay maliit. Si Pedro ay mataba. Si Pedro ay mabait. Si Pedro ay mayaman. Si Pedro ay makulit. Ganon. Those are the characteristics. So, these enumerations here flash on your screen, okay, are the characteristics of a contract of agency. So, we discuss the characteristic which is consensual. What is consensual? Galing sa salitang consent. Okay? So, why consensual? Bakit consensual ang isang contract of agency? Simple lang. Because it is based on the agreement of the parties which is perfected by mere consent. Okay? Ganito lang ang ibig sabihin niyan. Nagkakaroon. Okay? Nagkakaanak. Okay? Nagkakaroon o nagbubunga ng isang contract of agency by mere consent, pag pumayag ang principal and agent. Remember, hindi lang dapat si principal ang pumayag, dapat pati si agent. Okay? At hindi lang dapat si agent ang pumayag, dapat si principal. They must be, the two must give their consent, the principal and the agent. So, if I ask you, when is contract of agency perfected? Okay? Your answer is upon the consent of the principal and the agent. Number 2, okay? Characteristic is it is nominate. Okay? Bakit nominate? Okay? From the word name, nominate. Okay? If you remember during your election sa class officers or sa school, ganyan. When you nominate someone, you name somebody. Okay? For example, I nominate Pedro as the president of this class. Diba? So, from the word nominate, you are given a name. Okay? And what is that name? Contract of agency. Okay? Contract of agency, one of the characteristic is the nominate because it has its own name from the word nominal, name, and that is contract of agency. I'm repeating it over and over para later on you can understand, and sa quiz ninyo alam nyo yung mga emphasis ng mga dapat na malaman para makasagot kayo mamaya. Don't worry, it's just true or false. Okay? No enumeration, no identification. Next is it is preparatory. Anong ibig sabihin ng preparatory? From the word prepare. Okay? Why preparatory? Contract of agency is preparatory in character because it is entered into as a means to an end. Example, ano tong sinasabi natin it is entered. Pumapasok ka daw as a means to an end. So, may papasukan kang sisimulan ka at may tatapusin ka. Ano ba? Ang ibig sabihin nun, ma'am? So, that only means that the creation of transaction or contracts that will be fulfilled later on. Okay? So, ang ibig sabihin nito, you will create, okay? Gagawa ka, makikikontrata ka sa isang tao, that is your agent, okay, to act on your behalf for your benefit, okay, and there now becomes a contract of agency, and there is an obligation on that part of the agent to fulfill such obligation, okay, so that is the end. Okay, next one is it is principal in nature. Okay, what do we mean by principal in character? Okay, it is principal because it can stand on its own without the need of another contract. Okay, ibig sabihin nito, nakakatayo, nag-e-exist yung contract of agency, okay, na walang kasamang iba pang kontrata. Ano ba yung mga kontrata? Ma'am, pwede ka bang magbigay ng kontrata na kailangan pa ng isang kontrata? Okay? Example nito is yung mga contract that has an interest. Okay? In that case, the contract to pay the interest is separate from that contract to pay the principal loan. Okay? Hindi ka pwedeng magbigay ng interest kung wala pang principal amount. Okay? Next one is that it is unilateral. From the word uni, okay, or one. Okay? When we say unilateral, okay, if it is gratuitous, okay, because it creates obligations for only one of the parties. Example, the agent, okay? However, if there is a bilateral, nagiging bilateral siya, okay? Anong from the word bilateral? From the word bi or to, okay? If it is for the compensation because it gives rise to the reciprocal rights and obligations. Ganito yan. Nagiging, generally, ang contract of agency kasi, nagkakaroon ng contract of agency kahit walang consideration. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo kailangang bayaran yung tao to act as your agent. Okay? Nagiging bilateral siya if you impose or you give a certain amount when the obligation is fulfilled. In that case, it will now give you the principal. Yung principal will now has now the right and the obligation, I should say, the obligation to pay the compensation to the agent. So that is the bilateral. Okay? So those are the 6 characteristics of a contract of agency. We now proceed to the nature, basis, and purpose of contract of agency. Okay, reminder, you may take your recess if you want to. You may turn off your cameras for the meantime. However, pag nag-check po ako ng attendance, kindly turn on all your screens. Okay, let's proceed with the nature. Ano nga ba ang nature ng contract of agency? Okay? Anyway, okay? When I say nature, ano nga ba ito? Okay? Remember that the word agency, when used in its broadest meaning, is both a contract and a representative relationship. Okay? So, lagi niyong tandaan na pag ginagamit natin ang salitang agency under the law, it is not only a contract, but it is also a relationship. Okay? Representative relationship. Okay? So, nature. Remember that since agency is a contract, di ba, paulit-ulit kung sinasabi, kontrata ito. What is the nature? Pag tinanong ko sa inyo. Since agency is a contract, it is essential that the minds of the parties should meet in making it. Remember the definition in your Article 1868. Okay? So, how does the consent manifested? Okay? First, let's proceed with the first one. Manifestation of consent. Kailan ba na ma-manifest ang consent? Paano ba? Paano ba nalalaman natin ang consent? Ma'am, paano kung bingi yung tao? Hindi ko siya maririnig, ganyan. Hindi ko malalaman kung nag-oo ba siya o hindi. Okay? Okay? Remember this one. In manifestation of consent, the principal must intend that the agent shall act for him. Okay? So, dapat klaro na si principal, ang pinipili niyang agent, ang pinipili niyang taong represent para sa kanya, it must be clear. Okay? It must be concise. It must not be ambiguous. It must be unmistakable. So, dapat clear na clear. So, here, yung agent naman, must intend to accept the authority and act on it. So, si agent dapat, he must show his intent that he agrees, okay? He accepts the authority. At hindi lang dapat accepts, he must likewise show, okay? He must likewise indicate the ability to act on it. Okay? How about the agent? Agent by legal fiction. Okay? Gian, bakod ba yun? You are late. Okay? Agent by legal fiction becomes the principal. Here, what do we mean? That the agent by legal fiction becomes the principal. Okay? Sa mata ng batas, ang nagiging, diba? By legal fiction. Ibig sabihin, sa mata lang ng batas, as if ang principal na ngayon ay si agent. Okay? So, in acting for the principal, the agent by legal fiction becomes the principal, authorized to perform all acts which the latter would have him do. Such a relationship can only be effected with the consent or authority, okay, of the principal, which cannot in any way be compelled by law or by any court. Pwede mo bang pilitin si agent to act on your behalf? Remember this one, okay? You cannot, because it will be a duress or an act of violence. So, in that case, if the agent doesn't want to act on your behalf, okay, you can just cancel the contract of agency. The last one is the presence or absence of contract or consideration. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, pwedeng may bayad, pwedeng walang bayad ang isang contract of agency. So, kung libre, that is gratuitous in nature, then the characteristic of the contract of agency is unilateral. However, if there is a consideration, may bayad, okay, or may allowance, in that case, then that is bilateral in character. Okay? So, what is the basis of contract of agency? Always remember, agency is representative relationship. Okay? Its basis is representation. Okay? So, yeah. And obviously, what's the purpose? The purpose, okay, para saan ba? Okay? What's what's the primary purpose of contract of agency? That is to extend the authority, extend the personality of the principal through the facility of the agent. Ibig sabihin, para, okay, example, si Ana nasa Amerika, si Pedro andito sa Pilipinas, gustong ibenta na ni Ana yung mga property niya dito sa Pilipinas, okay, ayaw niya nang bumalik dito, kailangan niya nang i-dispose. Si Ana, okay, hindi siya makauwi, ayaw niya lang kasing umuwi dito, she will now execute a power of attorney or general or special power of attorney in America, okay? Tapos, that authority will indicate who is the agent of Ana. Let's just say it's Pedro, okay? As if in the eyes of the law, agent is now the principal and the personality of principal is now extended through the facility of the agent. Next one. Sino nga ba ang mga parties sa isang contract of agency? Paulit-ulit ko kanina, that is your principal and your agent. For a while po, saglit lang po. We proceed with the essential elements in a contract of agency. Why we say that it's essential? It is essential. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin lang ng essential is these are the most important. Okay? Most important. Ito yung bumubuo, kumbaga, paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo, puso, liver ng isang tao. Dito naman sa contract of agency, meron tayong apat, okay, na essential elements. The first one is consent. Okay? And that consent is given by whom? By the principal and your agent. Okay? And again, contract of agency is perfected by mere consent. Consensual, okay, one of the characteristics of contract of agency is it is consensual. Ulit-ulit ko ha, para may matutunan kayo. Okay, number 2, the second essential element is the object of the contract. Okay, the object of the contract is the execution of juridical act in relation to third person. And the third one, the agent acts as the representative of the principal and not for himself. Okay? And lastly, the agent acts within the scope of his authority. Always remember that the agent should not and should never, okay, should never act outside the scope given. Otherwise, what will happen? Okay? It will now void the agreement unless it will be ratified by the principal. Okay? Next one. Question. Is consideration required in a contract of agency? Again, the answer there is no. Okay? Because accordingly, one among the characteristics of a contract of agency is it is unilateral, meaning there can be no obligation or compensation. I mean, obligation to compensate. Okay? If it's bilateral, then of course, you need or there's now an obligation to compensate. So, how is agency created? Okay? An agency is created or it is perfected by mere consent of the principal and the agent. What is the presumption as to the scope of authority? Okay? Always remember that the scope of authority must always be limited. authority, it must only be within the power given by the principal.